evening, everybody. I am so excited to welcome you back to a third season of Dear Lydia's Soulful Sunday Conversations. This season is going to be amazing. I cannot begin to, first of all, express my appreciation and gratitude to you, my viewers, our viewers, for your constant support, for your love, your encouragement, for the push, praying, and everything that you have done to keep us going into a third season. Again, I am so excited to have our guest here with us. He is a man of many hats. We all know him on social media and throughout the community. And I want to even say the entire world, to be honest with you. Manny Hall is the owner of Manny Hall and Associates, which is a full-scale marketing agency that serves clients around the world. So remember, worldwide. I said he's world known. He is a brand developer, the author of 3 books, a workshop leader, and a speaker. Manny Hall has a unique story, which I'm going to allow him to tell you. He basically went from somebody who worked in corporate America, and like many of us, may have lost a job, and then built a very successful business. So where he didn't have to return to corporate America. So we're going to have that conversation. And I am so thrilled to have on the show, the man, the myth, the wonderful Manny Hall.
Thank you so much for having me today.
So Manny, I got you on Dear Lydia, Soulful Sunday Conversations. Let me first tell you, it is such an honor to have you here with us this evening. And I am so delighted to be able to have a conversation with you. I have been following you and I have known you for many years. You have done and continue to do a remarkable work. So first of all, hats off to you and kudos to you for all that you have done and all that you continue to do to make our world better. Now, with all of that out the way, who are you, Manny Hall?
So at my core, I tell people lately that I'm a father, I'm a husband, I am a proponent of success to really help people get to their next level. Because, we can change titles, we can change positions, we can change industries. But I think for you and I both, at the core, it's really that look in someone's face, whether they're on Zoom or in person now, right? When you know that they have received something that literally changed their life. And I love being able to have that type of impact with my clients, with my students within our programs, to really be able to be a true change agent in its clearest sense. So lately, I've been telling clients that within this brand space of you developing your brand into something massive, is really asking yourself this core question: what am I doing it for, right? And it's much more than just that why or that purpose, but it's like, where do I want my life to be? Is it a new car? Is it a mansion? Is it more success? Is it more time with your kids? Like, for me, this is going to sound weird and strange, but I had this big hope and dream that one day I could go to the grocery store and spend as much money as I wanted to without any limits, right? And, from COVID 2020, 2021, I got a chance to be able to experience that. And it felt so good to consistently be able to buy myself, my kids, whatever we wanted to buy on a consistent basis from the grocery store. And that was a win for me. It was also a win to be able to pick my kids up from school, because me being a father meant so much to me that I told God years ago, even when my kids weren't living with me full time, I said, if you give me an opportunity to really be that type of father, I'm really going to be that dad that's on the floor, rolling around, having fun, playing games, picking them up from school, going all these different places. So right now, it's like at this current state, I haven't even reached millions, but I'm living my best life.
That's what's up. You hit the hammer on the nail, because a lot of people think in order for you to live your best life, you got to be a millionaire to do that. And you really don't have to be a millionaire or a multi-millionaire to do it. The thing is to be able to trade time for money. That's all it is to it. And you have pointed out successfully how to be able to do that, because it's one thing to have children, but it's another thing to be able to spend that quality time with them, not just with you coming home from work. And you've given 8 to 10 hours, sometimes 12 hours. My dad was one who gave 16 hours a lot of times per day. Oh, my father worked one time, he worked 32 hours in a row. And I was just like, oh my, I'm like, who does that? Really? And, you know, but he was from that generation where, you know what, I work, my wife stays home. But it was like, okay, you know, I wanted that quality daddy time. So I got that as my sister and I, we grew up and became older, but I love how you pointed out being able to pick up your children from school and not worrying about, oh, I got to get back to work or whatever the case may be. So how were you able to begin to live your best life? How were you able to do that transition from I'm working and, you know, I'm not always in the house to I'm home. I'm an entrepreneur, but I have enough time for my family.
Right. And I would honestly say that the hardest part on getting here was getting me out the way. Like, I really thought that before this time, it was like, oh, I need some funding for my business, or I need a bank loan, or I need this, or I need all these customers and clients. It was literally this guy by the name of Manny Hall that was standing in the way of my success, because it was old habits that I needed to break. It was mindset stuff that I needed to rearrange. It was the people that I was hanging around. It was the TV shows. It was movies that I was influenced by. It was negativity that I was influenced by. It was a hunger and thirst for stuff that just wasn't leading me towards success. I had to almost develop a different taste palette for success, because I had a taste palette for failure. I kept wanting to go after these things because in a weird way, although it wasn't good for me, it tastes good. Just like Doritos, Cheetos, and Fritos.
With the fire, Manny Hall. See, this is why you had to kick off the first season, because there are many of us, me included. You said something real key. You had to change your taste palette. And a lot of times we equate that to food. I gotta change my diet. But no, it pertains to what we take in, garbage out. So if you're watching garbage, and I have a tendency now to watch garbage, I don't know why, but that just, oh my goodness, you hit the hammer on the nail. We have to change our entire palette in order, and the new taste has to be, how bad do we want to be successful? And it's getting out of, sometimes, no, I'm going to be honest, 99.9% of the time, we are the cause of our lack of success. And we tend to blame it on everybody else, but no, we have control. And God has given us the provision for the vision. Oh my God, I loved how wow. I hope everybody took notes and wrote that down. Clear, if you
because
want
I was just gonna say that to go a little bit further into it, the reason why, it was so meaningful for me to change me, because I kept hearing the Holy Spirit say, this is a life that you can live, son. Like, listen, you speaking on stage, you doing all this stuff. And I'm like, I can't do that. He was like, yes, you can, fool. Just go out there and do it. I'm equipping you with the power. But because me was in a way, it was literally like this huge cement wall that was in front of me. And I just couldn't get past it. So I had to do a lot of meditation, had to do a lot of prayer. And through this time, God really starts showing me the error in my ways of my relationship with him. Because he said, you've been looking at me differently than you needed to. Like you're looking at me and you're saying, I'm your father, I'm your friend, I'm your savior. But that's not really what you mean, son, because you haven't really taken the time to get to know you. So during this meditation time, God will be telling me the difference between prayer and meditation is you keep talking to me, but you have never just sat there and listened. And the practice that Jesus showed us when he was with the disciples, he would bust a move real quick and they'd be like, where'd Jesus go? Where's he? It's like, up on the mountain. Where you was at, Jesus? Listen, I had to do something. I had to go away from you. There's some crazy stuff going on in the world. I had to go spend some time with my father and meditate. And then he's literally giving us this principle and this example, but many times we're not following it. And it's like, I speak very specifically to us as Christian believers because he's given us the blueprint for success in the Bible. But it's just like we're searching for how to be successful the way Manny did it. How did Dion do it? Well, how did Frank do it? How did Lisa do it? No, you can maybe take some clues and stuff from them, but you're gonna have to sit your behind down in some quiet prayer and meditation time. And I promise you, during this time, Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 through 6 comes alive when it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not to your own understanding, all your ways acknowledge him. He will direct your path. He's been trying to direct your path. I got to minister just for a minute. He's been trying to direct your path, but for some reason you keep getting in the way. So the formula for you to really have a successful business is for you to really walk away from you like I had to. Had to walk away from me. This really great book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And within this book, it really teaches principles on how to walk away from this old behavior, this old mindset and lifestyle, and all of these habits that keep reminding you of the old you. You can't continue the behaviors of this old you and expect you to have success. Like you literally got to take on behaviors of the successful you, however that looks.
And you know what's funny? When you say that, it's like the definition of insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. You can't do it. If it doesn't work, you got to change the formula and you got to change your habits and stuff. I love what you said. What was the name of that book again?
Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. I'm going to look that up and I'm going to put that in the show notes for everybody with the author and everything like that. If you're anything like me, you got an account with Thrift Books. I think I got 3 free books waiting for me with Thrift Books. So get that book.
Do you like that one versus Audible more?
You know what? I use them both because I'm still kind of like old school. You know, I was born in 78, so I grew up with the paper and, you know, I still like the smell of books and stuff like that. But I also am always on the go. So I can't always read. So I like to listen in my car or I'll listen to it while I'm at work. So they, you know, they both work for me. But yeah, I as much as I love technology, nothing replaces in my book the smell of a book. I just love books. So yeah, I'm going to get that book and I'm going to dive into it because I'm definitely in a season where everything, like you're teaching me right now, you know, I got to get out of my way. The only person that's stopping this train from going forward is the person right here in the mirror. So I'm about to dive in and take these nuggets and do what I do. So I want to segue into Manny the man. When I tell you to watch your life play out, and I love how you and your beautiful wife are so transparent about your journey. Tell us about Manny, the husband. You know, how does all of that come into play? How are you able to, you know, manage staying in love, even in this day and age?
Absolutely. Great question. So, Manny, the husband, more specifically, is someone that's constantly learning every single day. And I get it wrong a whole lot of times. And this is why that book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, is so vital and to every area of your life, because studies show that we're operating from our subconscious mind 90% of our day. So this is like habits, is programs of mindsets and belief systems and all of these different things of norms and values that you carried over throughout the years. And I've had some really toxic ways of being a husband that I thought was appropriate just from learning stuff on TV, learning stuff from my dad and uncles and grandfathers and just the culture as a whole. So my wife will tell me like, hey, didn't like the way you said that. Oh, like, well, what did I say? And when a person says, "What did I say?" That's very clear that they weren't even conscious of what they just said. Right. So it's like now you take a step back, and as an observer, you say, "Oh, shoot, that was a program that was just running. I need to fix that program. I need to literally dissect that program and get that thing out because it's messing me up." But we have a whole lot of fun together. We're very, very communicative with each other about different things that we want to do with the kids, with different things that we want to do with each other. Me being a homebody, I'm not someone that really enjoys being out on the scene. And I think it's part of my introvert nature, but it's almost like I'm very calculated too as a husband, right? So it's just like, does this make sense for our family? Is this a good move? And some days we're not always agreeing on everything. We're just like, well, no, babe, I wanted to do it. Like, yeah, but as a family, as a unit, I don't think that this is the best decision. And, for those that are listening, that might be men, or for the women and mothers and wives, you can send your husband as your boyfriend. It's not easy taking on the responsibility as a head. So it's like we get into these discussions about submission, and yes, every wife should submit to her husband. The Bible also says, submit ourselves one to another. But this area of leadership is not easy at all for a man, because even with having to make tough decisions, sometimes it hurts me. It makes me feel inadequate to be the person I'm supposed to be, because I'm just like, I had to make this tough decision, and she wants to do this, and I felt in my spirit I had to do this. Maybe I'm wrong. All of these type of thoughts go through my head. So leading my family, specifically with my wife, like I share with her, and I'm very, very honest and transparent about how I feel about different stages of being a husband and making different moves. And we really talk through a lot of things.
And you know what? One of the things, as I counsel and minister either current wives or women who are about to become wives, one of the things that I had to learn when I became a wife, I am a very introverted, independent person. And I had to turn off being an independent, always, I gotta run things, I gotta, things have to go by the beat of my drum, to become submissive. And my husband, and for women sometimes, and men, being vulnerable is not a place that we want to be.
Right.
And it sometimes takes people a lot of years to get to that place of being a safe space to feel vulnerable and be vulnerable. And so I tell people all the time, and you hit it on the hammer on the nail. Men don't always like to, be, and it's hard to be a leader. It really is. And there's no cookie cutter way to do it. There's all this information out here. A lot of it is not the best information to take in. But, the fact that, you're willing to say, what, some of the stuff that's on my shoulders, it's a heavy weight, and you're willing to tell your wife that. And I love the fact that your wife is willing to be that support, and sometimes and take that weight off of you, and not make it so hard. Because again, as women, you would be surprised what I read on Facebook by some people. Like, I just be like, mute, because if this is the right, like my husband has to do this and men needs to do that, and da 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 da. No, what needs to work in your household needs to work in your household. And we live in such an age where we just have to, especially towards our men, we have to be better as women. We have to be better supporters, better cheerleaders. My number one saying is, be an Adrian to your Rocky. If you remember all the Rocky movies, Adrian was number one. If nobody else was going to be at those fights, Adrian was going to be at them fights with Rocky. She was screaming his name. when he was making a decision that I don't know if you should do this, Adrian would say what she got to say, but she was always respectful to whatever decision Rocky made, even if she didn't agree with it. So I love how you talk about that and you bring that in. So you also have a consultancy.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your consultancy and what do you do and how do you operate in the Christian marketplace with it?
Yeah, so Manny Hall and Associates is a consultancy company, and we're more of a hands-on approach as well as just providing consulting, whatever the client might need. But we really stand on Christian principles because early on, I wanted to get any and everyone as a customer or client, just somebody who's going to help pay some bills, right? But after a certain amount of time, I started to see how my spirit was vexed with many conversations, how I didn't have a passion and love to help certain people because I didn't like certain industries that they were in. So it's like, man, I got to help you promote this product and I don't even believe in this product.
Right.
So it seemed like a walking contradiction for me. And then sometimes just language and people really having foul mouths and their disposition and the way that they treat people, that I really wanted to start attracting a different crowd. So probably about 2 or 3 years ago, I made a decision and said, I'm going to start talking about God way more just to turn off people that don't want to hear about God. So I'll know that these people are never going to be my clients. They're like, I don't want to work with somebody like, man, he be talking about Jesus too much. So, but within that space, I started to see that there were so many people that could use a service like mine that were believers. And my fear initially was, and this is like another ministry opportunity for you guys, that my fear in the beginning was, well, if I start talking about God, people are going to be turned away and they ain't going to be able to pay me. No one's going to pay me if I keep talking about Jesus. But then he told me, he said, Manny, even on a basic level, there's millions of Christian business owners around the country, just around the country, Manny, that would love to do business with you. They just have to know that you exist. So this is why I started to really push my consultants, my coaches, much further into developing content for their own personal brand so that more people will find out that we exist as an organization and that they exist as individuals, because sometimes we have this amazing gift wrapped up inside of us, but if the world never hears about it, it's hard for them to be able to pay them for it. So I think that right now, it's like in this season, I've made a decision, honestly, that I want my business to be one of the most well-known organizations in the world. But I'm going to keep on talking about Jesus. Like I was at a conference yesterday and I almost felt like, I'm not going to say that I felt like this like nudge to do it, but I said very clearly, I was like making this point. I said, and I'm a believer, I'm a Christian believer. I believe that God speaks to me. And I felt like God gave me kudos, but he was also like, much more than you trying to be overzealous is you really, this is a part of you. You just wanted to make sure that they knew. It's a room full of people that we're not even talking about God at all. Most of them might be atheists. But it's like, I want to make sure as I'm making this point where I'm getting this from. In context, this is because of him.
Yes.
And my consultancy company has continued to grow, to answer your question. Really being off of that faith-based business. And, you know, for a lot of business owners, you're maybe scared to go down this road, but you don't have to be. Like with that freedom that you have in Christ, you will become the type of person that everybody wants to meet. You think about how famous somebody like Joseph was. Wasn't nobody really talking about God inside of this kingdom, but he put God on the map. That can literally be you with your product, you with your service, you with your ministry that you have.
Amen. Amen. I mean, really, I don't understand why so many people are afraid to go into the biblical marketplace. I don't understand what the fear is. And I was like you, I'm like, when I first started, let me just get whoever. And now I want everybody.
Right.
the pandemic and going through that, I was like, oh no, I can't. I actually shifted my business through the pandemic.
I got you.
So, similar stories and to what you were doing. So when somebody, comes in and, they want to utilize your consultancy and things of that nature, what, and I don't want you to like give out business,
Oh, I'll give everything. Go ahead, just ask. I got you. I don't
but
mind.
I mean, what are some advice that you would give to somebody who either wants to start a business or is in a season of, I have to pivot my business?
Yeah. So I would say following this path of like getting to know yourself is going to be so valuable. And we're not even really digging into like this therapeutic standpoint. It's literally you just spending more time with you, because most of the answers that we're looking for business growth, for ideas, it's already really within ourselves. Yes, it could be also in a book, a podcast that you hear, but you've come across so much valuable knowledge that you can literally put something together based off of who you are, what it is that you do right now, and make a whole lot of money doing it. But first steps first, let's just talk about foundationally. If you want to start a business for the first time, make sure that you have everything together logistically and formatted correctly for fundamentals when you think about registering your business with the Secretary of State for that particular state that you're in, getting your EIN number with the IRS. You want to have your articles of incorporation ready. You want to look at what kind of structure am I going to have, all those things. But then when you think about marketing your business, you really want to make sure that you know who that audience is going to be. So this is also for those individuals that are considering pivoting your business and shifting a little bit, like going back to not only who do I want to serve, but with this gift that I have and the ability that I have, who would benefit from this? And sometimes I've seen like a lot of African-American businesses that their target market is white people. And they like, hey man, I really want to target more to black people because this is my, like, but if they're not buying from you, cool, no problem. And so you really want to be able to identify like who it is that you're going to be serving on a consistent basis, because when you start talking to them, you don't even have to worry about anybody else buying from you. They're going to know that you're the person that's explaining their pain points, their unique situation that they're experiencing that you can help them with. They'll hear that and they'll spend their money with you if, because here's the next important piece, you have to make sure that you have a very clear offer that I would call an irresistible offer. Now, the reason it needs to be an irresistible offer is when you're first entering the marketplace, no one's going to pay attention to you. They don't have a reason to pay attention to you. It's the same thing like if you're an author, you wonder why nobody bought your books when you first came out. You really thought that everyone was going to go crazy about your book. I did too. I remember that. I was going to post it on social media. I had this whole plan in my mind. I was going to post on social media. I was going to get 1,000 books sold off of one social media post. I wasn't sending any emails. There was no book launch. There was no advertisement. It was literally some social media posts. But many people are sometimes disappointed by the lack of enthusiasm for their product, their book, their service in the marketplace because there is no social proof. You haven't done anything to make people feel compelled to spend their money with you, let alone their time with you to learn more. But if you captivate them enough with the storytelling, that interest will be piqued. And again, you're talking to the right audience, but then you have a very clear product or service offering that's also irresistible. When they think of purchasing your product for the first time, like, oh, wow, this is the price, that's not bad. For all that I'm going to get, this seems like an amazing deal. Then they'll begin to tell their friends, their family members about you. I have one client that literally is just living off of referrals. She didn't even have to do a whole lot of marketing when she first started because so many people kept having great experiences with her from the first person that had a great experience with her. See, like many times we're thinking of like capturing all of this audience attention, but what if you just impacted one person that went and told somebody else, that went and told somebody else? That can happen as well.
And I love how you said the power of one. We often forget that power of one person who, oh my God, I loved your book. Let me buy, a whole, I'm a teacher, I'm a professor. Let me buy a whole thing. Let me buy 50 of them for my class. Let me tell somebody else. It's the power of one that's going to make you successful. And I also loved what you said, because this is a lesson that I think we all learned some shape or form in business. And if you haven't learned, keep doing your business, because you will learn it. The people that you expect to be your customers will never buy anything from you. If you're looking at family members, close friends, all of that, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to purchase anything from you.
Yeah.
And those who you don't expect to be your customer are going to be your number. They're going to keep you in business.
Yeah.
I seriously.
Yeah.
So changing that thinking and recognizing your niche. Who's your niche audience? Who am I serving? Who is this for? Who is my target? Those were some very good points, Manny. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And so we're winding down. And this month, in addition to celebrating fathers, this month is also a month where we are talking about something that's very sensitive and doesn't get a whole lot of attention. It's Mental Health Awareness for Men. We talk about Mental Health Awareness Month for children and women and everybody else, but we do not talk about, or we kind of skate around, the mental health of men. Now, I just want to read a couple of stats just in case anybody, didn't know this, but men are 3 times more likely to die by suicide than women. 3 times more likely. Men aged 18 to 35 have the highest suicide rate in the United States.
Wow.
Men report lower levels of life satisfaction than women. So basically, men, they don't talk about how unhappy they are. They tend to go through the motions because it's expected of them to go through the motions. And men are less likely to access psychological therapy than women. So, you ready for this stat? Only 36% of men actually seek out therapy. That is an alarming rate. And we all know, because of the pandemic, that suicide rates have almost tripled, period, in the United States. It has almost tripled. Almost, if we are on track, like they say that we're on track, it will probably quadruple by the end of this year. So there are a lot of people out here that are hurting, and there are a lot of people out here that are hurting in silence. And men typically hurt in silence. The number one issue that affects men is depression. It's the number one psychological mental illness that tends to take men out, is depression, followed by anxiety, bipolar disorder, psychosis, and running into last, substance abuse. So with all of that being said, as a man, do you feel that men have adequate support in terms of preserving and protecting your mental health?
Yes, I do believe that the resources are out there, but I think the challenge primarily is the indoctrinated belief that we as men have about seeking help, because it's still viewed as weakness to even share your feelings or to talk about different things that you're going on. You're supposed to just man up, supposed to be able to just deal with it. But see, I came from a different space because my mom was very nurturing to me. She asked me what I was feeling and how I was doing, and she checked up on me. My dad, not so much, but my mom's background, she was a social worker. So that was a reason why she kind of had that care and nurture inside of her. Years later, as I became an adult, I was at the Word Church and I became a grief recovery specialist. So within that dynamic, I was helping groups of individuals work through different types of grief, from moving to marriage loss, job loss, issues with addiction, all those type of things. And so I learned a really different side of it. And there was quite a few men in the group sometimes, but it was still dominated by women because, again, even in the church dynamic, this was viewed as a bad thing to be able to share those feelings. So I think that we as men should definitely share more about what it is that we're going through. And if that safe space has to start with your wife or girlfriend, mom or a sister, then do that. But you cannot keep this stuff bottled up inside of you. There was a really great book by George Bloomer years ago that I read called The Little Boy in Me. And the book was so powerful because it explained how we as men have this little boy trapped inside of us that really needs to be free. This person is struggling with disappointment, rejection issues, depression, as you mentioned, all this sadness, all this grief, and not knowing how to deal with anything. And then you, as a grown man, continue to put your suit on, continue to put your hat and your cool outfit on, and your gaiters and your slacks, whatever you're wearing. And you appear to be a grown man, but you're still this little boy that's suffering each and every day, and masking it with more addiction, masking it with more activities and more women never solves the problem. But it's really going back inside of yourself, going back to this point of meditation and prayer, of spending enough time with yourself to say, you know what? I don't like this about myself. And I'm not even being judgmental or hard on myself. It's just these areas I want to change. I don't like the way I yell. I don't like the way I become so angry and frustrated. I don't like the way that I'm easily irritated and agitated and I just blow up. Maybe that's the reason I keep losing my job. Maybe it's not the devil. Maybe it's me, this inner me, enemy that's really causing all the problems. So I think that it's like we think about mental health, we just have to approach it in a different way. There are resources out there to help us, but I think that the majority of the resources that can support us will never go towards ourselves. But I think that we almost need to be met halfway with some of these resources to say, listen, I know that y'all don't normally come and get no help, but this is a part of the curriculum, especially like when you got guys getting out of prison. It should be a requirement before they leave that they go through some type of therapeutic practice, meeting with a therapist, meeting with a counselor, meeting with a psychologist to work through some of these things. Those individuals that are in school, some of these young men have so much anger and aggression built up. And then we think by the time that they're grown that they're going to somehow make responsible decisions. They're not.
Right. Right. And I actually have some updated stats. So suicides in the United States by men make up 80% of deaths.
Wow.
Yeah. So remember when I said it's going to be 4 times? We're already there. It's 4 times more than women.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So, and I love how you said your mother was nurturing. And it's so important, and especially for our demographic. We have had such a hard life from the slave ship until now. Like we can't, sometimes it's just like, man, can we catch a break?
Yeah.
And with all of that being said, we have to learn how to nurture. We got to learn how to see the signs. Are you okay? And most importantly, we have to be a safe space for somebody.
Yeah.
We have to be able to not be judgmental. I mean, we always say pray. No, sometimes you need to sit on a therapist. Listen, I have sat. Y'all want to see my bills? Sometimes you got to sit on a therapist's couch and talk to them about what is bothering you. In order for you to get to that level of success, you gotta dispose of and purge of those things that are keeping you weighted and down. And it's okay to say, you know what, I need help. Men, it's okay to say, I can't handle this. I can't bear it and I need help. It's
Yeah,
okay to say that. Please seek help, and we will list in the show notes some resources for you to contact if you need any assistance or need any help. Don't
for sure.
suffer this alone.
For sure.
So we are winding up the show. Manny, it is so good to have you on. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to leave us with some final thoughts that you may have, and it's all yours.
Okay, thank you. So I would say thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate this opportunity and honor. And as we close, just do your best every single day to make some improvement. I really think that as we think about the world becoming a better place, like just like Michael Jackson said, it started with us. Like there's literally stuff that we could do every single day to make improvements, which will dramatically impact your family, your job that you're working at, your business, the clients, the suppliers you're working with, everybody around you. So it's like, it's my goal to make at least 1% improvement every single day on Manny, whether that's becoming a better communicator, a better husband, a better father, a better friend, a better business person. I'm always seeking to make some improvement. When I've done that, that has naturally allowed more opportunities to continue to come to me.
Awesome. Well, Manny, it is so good to talk with you as always. Continue doing the great work that you are doing. We
Thank
see
you.
you, dear
Thank,
Lydia. We support you. We shout you out.
thank
Woo
you.
woo. And continue doing what you're doing. Give my love to Marlia and the kids. And thank you very much for being here. And happy Father's Day to you.
Thank you. I
Make
appreciate
sure
that.
you take care of you, and make sure you deserve it. So make sure you have the best Father's Day.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
And to everybody else, thank you for tuning in on this wonderful day. Please have a wonderful rest of the evening. If you have your father, hug on your father. This day is not easy for me. My father, this is the 13th Father's Day that I have been without my dad. So please, if you have your father, even if you are not on the greatest terms with your father, reach out to him and just say, hey, because you got that one time when he's not there that you're going to wish that you reached out to him. So please be good, and then be good to yourself mentally. Take care of yourself. Happy Juneteenth. Happy Freedom Day to us. And everybody, as we always say, until next time, Lydia, have a wonderful, wonderful evening.